everybody, what's up? Welcome back. Another new episode of Last Wave Podcast. If you're new here, we deal with topics like ghosts, UFOs, cryptids, conspiracies, and pretty much anything under the paranormal umbrella. Joined here today by co-host Buster.
What's up?
And another new friend of ours named Allison. She'll be sitting in today.
Ayo.
She's just here to listen and to hang out, but she might have something to say, so I didn't want everybody to be like, what is this random voice? It's not a haunting or anything. Not an EVP.
That we know of.
So we're here. We're gonna throw it real quick to a little sponsor segment, and then when we come back, we'll be in the show. So we'll do that, and then we'll be right back. What's up, everybody? I just want to take a second to shout out one of our other local sponsors. One for the podcast, actually. This is the Kava Bar of Hickory, North Carolina. They actually have a Hickory location, a Morganton, and now a Conover location that just had its grand opening. You can see pictures of that on our Instagram and TikTok for sure. But this is a great little place, fantastic atmosphere. They specialize in newer CBD, kratom, kava, and that kind of stuff. Plenty of cool new stuff to try. It's in all kinds of forms now. And it's getting healthier and better, honestly, by the day. So, I mean, they've got chocolates, gummies, pretty much everything you could need, obviously. And then they actually brew kava tea. And kava is really gaining notoriety as a natural healer. As you can see right here on their page, the NFL's newest and safest painkiller. They brew it in a tea for you. It's right there on site. Go in there and get you a little sip and a little cup, and you're good to go for the day. All kinds of stuff. Again, they just had their grand opening in Conover. So if you're in the Hickory, Morganton, Conover, Charlotte area, even it's just a few minutes up the road northwest of Charlotte. So come check them out. Follow them on Facebook. Like them on Facebook. If you go in there and you buy anything that you've seen, especially from our podcast and from our gaming channel, make sure you give us a shout out while you're there. Let them know that, hey, you saw us on one of our ads. So that'll be great for us and great for them. And I definitely recommend checking them out. I was just up there yesterday talking to the owner. Fantastic group of guys there. Really, really highly recommend this place. Go check them out. That's all I got. On with the show. All right, what's up? We're back. And again, that's one of our sponsors for the podcast. So we appreciate them. Check them out online or in person wherever you can. They are local. And we try to help only local businesses at this point. So local and small businesses, it's kind of cool. And today we're going to actually start because it's Valentine's Day that we're recording.
Yeah, happy Valentine's Day, y'all.
Happy Valentine's Day. Happy day of love and kindness, and try not to be a terrible person today.
Furthermore, you will know the dark truth behind Valentine's Day.
So we're going to start. We got a couple different topics, but we're going to start and we're going to jump into real quick just how Valentine's Day came about and where it got its starts and some etymology and all that good stuff that we usually talk about. So I'm going to let Buster start this one because this is something he brought.
Oh, yeah. Come to think of it, like, you go down the rabbit hole on these pagan holidays and stuff and how they've integrated themselves into the Christian sect.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, like, there's this emperor called Claudius II. And he was, I think it was during the 3rd century. Yeah, he decided that single men made better soldiers than marrying other men. So he outlawed marriages. And there's this cat named Valentine, and he realized that wasn't too cool. So he defied the guy and kept performing these marriages for couples who weren't allowed to be together. And fun fact, this Emperor Claudius II, he executed 2 guys, both named Valentine, on February 14th, in different years on the same day of the 3rd century. And their martyrdom was later honored by the Catholic Church with the celebration of St. Valentine's Day.
That's pretty absurd.
It's pretty wild, right?
I mean, because you also have because when you brought it to me, I was like, okay, what are you talking about? The Valentine's Day Massacre? because that's the first thing that came to my mind, and that's a like I don't have it in front of me, like 1930s mafia hit job that these guys were basically taking out, unbeknownst to them, obviously, and they were taken out on Valentine's Day.
I'm sure they left a little rose.
Yeah, so I mean, and you kind of see that a lot throughout history. Again, like you said, with these pagan holidays and where they actually get their start from, and you start pulling threads, and you're like, wait a minute, that's not the correct day, or that's not the correct reason, or like I've always heard that Friday the 13th is that way because the Templars were outlawed and rounded up and executed on the 13th.
And then that became associated with bad luck.
Yeah, yeah.
And then later horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny how many historians they originally believed that the Valentine's Day originated from the pagan festival of fertility called Lupercalia, and it's an event with animal sacrifice, random couplings, and the whipping of women. Not quite as romantic as chocolate and roses. But,
yeah, it's a little bit better these days than it was back then. We weren't all. I mean, that might be something you're into. Nice little get together, little gathering, little whipping,
oh yeah,
little chocolate.
You see,
some
see
wine.
how that gets kinky.
Yeah.
But Cupid, he was like born of Mercury, which was basically like the equivalent to Hermes, and the messenger of the gods. Venus, the goddess of love, and all that. That's the son of those. And he was armed with the bow and arrow, so he could force love and passion on unsuspecting victims.
And I found it interesting. Y'all said that the name was Eros, and it's what he fires is arrows.
Arrows, yeah.
And again, it's just that etymology of the way the wordplay, the way the words end up working.
ARROWS is a very, very loose relation of EROS.
Exactly. So I mean, that's kind of crazy. Is there anything else on how Valentine's Day got started? I mean, I know that's kind of just a random little one-off we were doing for the day.
I think it was actually Pope Gelasius I that actually made Valentine's Day a thing, and it was 496 A.D. The Feast of Saint Valentine, to honor the martyrs who died 200 years before for their bravery.
Yeah, that's interesting. That like never in all of my time have I ever heard that, and that's what the cause for the holiday is.
And the only reason they even became a thing is because they were so hell bent on marrying men with men that they defied the church to do it, and all of a sudden they're being honored now.
Yeah, it is. It's weird.
And it would be a thing to be honored for that by the Catholic Church.
Yeah, it's strange.
Very strange.
Yeah.
So the Pope's over here, blessed everybody with their coexist movement and whatnot.
Yeah.
So it's only trickled down through the centuries now.
That's true. I mean, and then you have like the that's just crazy. I mean, they're so contradictory. One of their saints, gosh, I can't remember. I feel like a fool for even bringing it up without the name. But one of their saints was like a hairy wild man, like for the forest. He was like not a Bigfoot-esque creature, but like a wild man with like hair all over his body and stuff like that.
Chewbacca.
Well, no, not quite Chewbacca. Well, pretty much, I guess. Depending on how. I mean, I wasn't there. We weren't there. It's been a long time. But the depictions are of a wild, hairy man as one of their saints. And I just thought that was crazy. Like the people they name as saints. Oh yeah, it was on there a second ago. Yeah, so we're looking at pictures of it. So yeah, some of those, and I mean those images of like hairy men go back obviously. I don't know how many times we've talked about cryptids and Bigfoot and Yeti. We talked about that one video last episode. That's insane of that Yeti.
So like that's not too far from the Wolfman.
Yeah, the Wolvers. There's even Irish, Wolfmen. I believe they were called Wolvers. Irish, UK, somewhere in that area. But they were like smart and kind. Like they would like they would leave you fish that they've caught and stuff like that.
They were depicted as these almost exalted heroes.
Yeah, they were more human than the tales of dogmen and werewolves that we have today, where it's just this bestial form. So it's kind of interesting that, of course, if you go back that far, then that could have also been that. I can't remember. It's something with the hair. Those people, you don't really see them much anymore. But you remember, like in the '90s, when they had the people that like the dog boy or whatever. I can't remember. Yeah, it had the full hair.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And it's weird we don't actually see that anymore now that I think about it. Like I haven't seen any type of that situation for like a decade.
Or at least it's not been in the mainstream.
Yeah.
But I mean, the only time you would ever come across any of these wild characters would be like, in Ripley's Believe It or Not, or some kind of like circus-esque.
Yeah.
But, those are always bizarre. Like the bearded woman. Yeah. We had a bit about that the other day.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out what. Yeah. Allison's nice enough to pull up a picture. I'm trying to figure out what the name of the thing was called, but yeah, these people were all over, sideshows and stuff like that. So I mean, that could have been because there's the guy with his dad. I mean, it's a full hair, face covered and everything. Looks like Chewbacca. So I mean, that could have been the Wolver, the educated dogmen.
Yeah, I thought like it could have been that they have some sort of a prevalent DNA that was passed down from the Nephilim.
Could be. Yeah.
Because I've heard quite a few of these cases being found in India.
India's big with it, yeah.
There's a lot of like
you have multiple legs or
genetic mutations, or quote unquote mutations in India.
Hypertrichosis, that's what it is. Thank you, Allison. Yeah, I know it's hyper something. I couldn't remember what it was, but yeah, you just don't hear about it anymore. It used to be like a huge thing in the '90s and early 2000s.
It's become so normal now. It's like not even worth talking about.
I guess. But yeah, I don't know how we got from Valentine's Day to Dogmen, but that's what we did. But our actual thing of this episode is something that Buster's gonna be new to, but it's a second part of a really popular episode that I did a long time ago of just random unsolved mysteries. So I found a handful of them. And I'm going to bring them to y'all, and y'all can give me your ideas, your thoughts, your theories. Your insight. And anybody listening, feel free to comment down below with whatever you think some of this stuff was. So the most recent one, and these notes are a little dated, but the most recent one was from last year, maybe year before last. I don't know. We live in the end times, so it's kind of hard to keep track of what's going on. But it's this cave, and it was only pictures. I've not seen a video of it. I haven't even heard of an official discovery of it. But it was in Thailand, and it was called the Naka Cave, which was interesting because Naka and Naga is very similar, and that means snake. And
Naga, that's Japanese?
I don't want to sound ignorant, but it's a foreign language. It's a word that is closely related to snake and snake people. So it's kind of interesting, this cave and these photos, and again, these are old, you can look them up, you can Google them, and this cave, like this rock formation cave, it's probably as big as a house.
The big snake?
Yes, it looks like a snake.
Petrified snake?
Yeah, it looks like a giant petrified snake. Yeah. And it looks like it's got scales, it looks like it weaves around the inside of the cave. It looks like our buddy talks about all the time, like mud flooded. Yeah. Like it doesn't even look like it's not fossilized. It looks like it was
petrified.
Yeah, growing about its own business and just got
bam.
Yeah.
So, Naga is actually Sanskrit for serpent.
There you go. So Naka, Naka, is the name of the cave, I believe. Naka Cave in Thailand, I believe. Again, when the story came out, it was like 6 photos of this cave and someone walking through it, and that was pretty much it. That was like all that was on it. So that is our first one, and I mean it's again, it looks really cool. Allison, are you looking at it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
And it's the giant snake rock in Naka Cave, Thailand.
Mm-hmm.
In Buddhist lore, the giant snake rock takes after the mythological snake called Naga.
There you go. Yeah.
A Naga is said to be a half human, half snake dwelling in the netherworld and occasionally taking the form of a human. So, I mean, that's, not we're getting into shapeshifters.
Yeah, that'd be a big dude. Be a big old giant.
So that
Mudflood giant.
Mudflood giant, like a Nephilim shapeshifter.
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
That'd be amazing to see in person.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And then that was, I didn't really see a whole lot much, other than that. But again, that's, you wouldn't, a discovery like that, it would be swept away pretty much. So I just thought that was crazy. And I'm sure those pictures, they're obviously y'all have seen them, so they're online. But that was definitely one that I enjoyed, and I think it could have been. Again, the idea that it's when it came out, we had never talked about mud floods and Tartaria and ancient civilizations and all that stuff. Well, not as much as we do now. So the idea of it, just slithering on along about its own business, and
Some kind of event.
some event happens, 3,000 some hundred years ago, and seals this thing in, and it just petrifies. And
It's wild.
could be.
Oh, did you see that the Elephant Island? It's an island that literally looks like an elephant that's just sitting in the water.
I have not. I know like Oak Island is shaped like elephant, but there's a lot of stuff. I mean, I even have told like the younger members of my family, like because kids, they lose their whole imagination way too early, these days. So I'm like, I tell them like the ancient tree theory and giants and all that stuff that. I mean, there's that troll movie on Netflix. That's super sweet. It does look like an elephant.
It looks like a freaking elephant. Like even laying down.
Yeah,
The face of an elephant.
it does.
Yeah,
Elephant Rock
Elephant
in
Rock
Iceland.
in Iceland.
And you know what's interesting about that, sir, is that it's in Iceland, where the original Kraken myths come from.
Yeah.
Up there in that region. And I had never known until I started researching that for an episode that like the Kraken and giant islands that disappear like are from that region. Because I've seen, if you watch Clash of the Titans or the pirate movies, where stuff like that, like where it'll be like an island poking out.
Yeah, but that's just the top of the head of the monster.
But like you watch movies like Pirates of the Caribbean, I believe talks about a Kraken and stuff, and you think Kraken in tropical waters, but the original legends come from the Norse people and the sagas and stuff like that, and like Jormungandr, the world serpent.
Yeah.
And there was these, I don't remember the name of the islands, but the legends where they would dock, they would pull up to a whole dock on the island, and the island would just start moving because it'd just be a big ass animal.
Wow.
And and what's funny about that is you take that to modern accounts of this thing called the Ninjin, which is thought to be like an internet creation or whatever. It's this huge white, almost humanoid creature that is seen in Japanese like icy waters.
Ninja.
Yeah, the Ninjin. It'sNingen. Y'all are just gonna be looking. We're just gonna be looking up stuff the whole time. But it's super creepy looking. But it's these old legends of these huge creatures living in ancient like icy waters is kind of lends credence to things like the Ninjin. Not that thing. That looks ridiculous. It's something like this.
Yeah, I've seen
But
depictions of that.
but something like that to live in that area would have to be big and go to the surface to get sunlight, that kind of stuff. I would imagine. I'm not like a marine biologist, but yeah, that's, again, we're getting off topic. Okay, second one. Let's see. Boom, boom. All right. The second one we got is the Screaming Mummy. And for this one, we're going to go to south of Cairo in Egypt in 1881. An archaeological dig uncovers a burial site containing 40 mummies, some past rulers and important people of their times, and one unidentified mummy, which was somewhat rare within the found group, but it was ignored at the first, given immensity of the whole rest of the find. But finally, once a more secure location and under inspection, the unnamed mummy became quite intriguing. The body was not mummified in the same way as the others. The intestines and brains were still in place, which is very rare, and its body was embalmed quickly using only quicklime, which meant the body would naturally mummify. The body was also wrapped in what appeared to be sheepskin instead of cleaner fabric or royal cloth. This would appear to mean that the body was unclean and undeserving of the afterlife.
Oh.
Yeah. And of course, there was the body itself. The expression was not of peace, but of torture.
So this almost is like a parallel to the mummy.
Yeah, this is like an actual mummy that was found, but it's instead of like, the sleep mask that you see in sarcophagi and stuff, its body and facial muscles were stretched and strained, like its mouth was agape, like wide open. The head is contorted backwards as if he died screaming. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it's like Imhotep in the Mummy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He was like his death was a curse.
Yeah, it was like, it could have been something like that.
The home die.
Yeah. At first, scientists thought it could have been an assistant or emissary to a governor or a royal. They thought the man could have been traveling abroad when he passed, given the techniques that were used. It seemed to fit the body was cared for outside of Egypt before its return. This theory was discredited, however, due to the fact that the body was laid in proximity to royals and other high-ranking individuals. So, experts were pretty much completely baffled at this point, but most of them agreed that it seemed to be the act of mummification in this manner was probably done on purpose, and someone did not want this individual to enter into the afterlife. There are small theories, such as it being the body of a foreign prince who died in Egypt, or that the man was poisoned. 100 years after it was discovered, a CT scan revealed the shape of the skull, and other features leaned toward the man being royalty. Sadly, still no actual conclusion to why this man was buried next to royalty, with preparation of someone who wasn't allowed to see the afterlife, and ended up in the contorted state of pain that he's still in today.
So you said the shape of the skull.
Was leaned towards him being royalty.
But
So
you know about the shape of most of these depictions of the mummifications of these quote unquote royals, they had elongated skulls.
well, yeah. I assume that's what they
The
meant.
cone head.
Yeah, the elongated skulls. What's Akhenaten? Akhenaten is the one they always talk about. The one that's like got the effeminate hips and the elongated head and all that stuff. Quick side note on Egypt. Let's talk about. Okay, a big quick side note. Let's talk about, because I can't stop dealing with it because it's intrigued me so. Um, so everyone, please excuse me for going off topic here. Let's talk about the Super Bowl. Okay, did you guys watch it?
I did not.
Okay, did you watch any of it, Allison?
I did not.
So during the Super Bowl, which was very, very good until about the last 2 minutes, and within the last commercial break, I think it was before the game ended, something really weird happened.
What was
This ad came on for U2, the band. It's an old band. They're very popular,
it? Mhm.
and they're going to be playing at this new, what is apparently a $5.5 billion, or some kind of, it's billions of dollars, to make this new venue in Vegas, and it's been in under works for 5 or 6 years, and they're going to be playing at this new venue. This new venue is called the Sphere, which, if you've watched any news recently, is kind of interesting. And the whole commercial is about 1.5 to 2 minutes long, and it talks about an unidentified object being in the sky and coming down, and the whole commercial is like the band like looking up, walking out into the desert, and the end of the commercial is U2 live at the Sphere.
Yeah.
Like, it looks like a giant metal sphere comes down, and they're gonna, I guess U2 is going to be greeting the aliens. I'll show it to you whenever we're done. It'll
Yeah.
blow your absolute mind.
I'm curious to know.
It's very, very curious, and not one person, aside from myself, has said a damn thing about it. And then when the game came back on, there was a penalty flag. I felt like the game just died. Like there was a penalty. I felt like I barely heard the crowd, and the game ended, and there was a little bit of celebration afterwards, and then it went off. And it was very strangely anticlimactic that like after that little bit of commercial break, it came back, the game was over, and everybody kind of went home. When last time Philadelphia was in a Super Bowl and they won, they nearly destroyed their whole town. And it's just like weird that everything was just kind of, the game was just over, football's over for the season, and that's it. There's no big like to do,
Like a moment of brainwashing. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it literally showed, if I'm not mistaken, a flash of one of the balloons in the air.
Yeah.
So it showed like, because it came over like an announcement, like there's an unidentified flying object in the skies above, and then it showed this big metal sphere floating over a sky. So my theory is that this venue they've been working on is a damn landing pad. Because where did they build the landing pads before? In the desert.
That's where we're gonna make contact, quote unquote.
Someone has said online, and I think this was kind of an interesting idea, that the Anunnaki are going to be returning. Yeah. And now this whole they're shooting down balloons thing. There's all these things that are coming out now, like these balloons they're shooting down are hexagonal shaped, or they interfere with the jets stuff, or it needed to be U.S. and Canadian aircraft was the first thing they said, which was weird because it took one thing to shoot down one balloon before, and then the next one all of a sudden it's engaged by multiple aircraft.
Isn't it a camouflaged hexagon-shaped balloon is what they're calling it?
I didn't see the camouflage, but they have no idea apparently what it is, how it works, how it stayed afloat. They said.
Yeah.
It's just weird that like. Why does China need balloons to spy on us if they have satellites?
They don't need balloons. In 2014,
as much information as they take from us from technological sites.
Yeah.
I like how we just blame it on other areas though,
right.
instead of looking into it the way it is.
Propaganda, man.
It is because I've not seen one like credible shred of evidence that it comes from China. Not one like press conference of Xi Jinping or somebody saying, "Hey, this is ours, my bad." No, China's even said they've had some of their airspace. South America's had some.
It's just easier to point a finger than it is to look into it.
Yeah, and it's wild that we actually are blaming China when allegedly we're supposed to be at war with Russia. And I just thought that was weird because China's supposed to be our buddy when the Democrats are in office. So because in 24, and this is how I know they don't need damn balloons, because when Obama was in office and they were buddy. They launched the satellite killer satellites, which are remote operated satellites that can basically go. It's like these little dudes. They have little clampers.
Yeah, they can go destroy a satellite.
Yeah, they can just go
via satellite.
Yeah. So I'm like, what are you doing with like a balloon? And like it's pointless.
And where are all the satellites when you take pictures of the Earth, quote unquote?
Yeah.
They're just sugarcoating the truth, so we don't look into it.
But,
well, then again, that's a whole nother subject.
Yeah, so I had to bring that up due to the link to ancient Egypt because I feel like it makes sense. Like, where are you going to have them land? In the biggest open area that we have in the U.S.
And the funny part about the spaceships and Egypt and all that, and how desertous it is.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying, bro.
How do we know that these pyramids are actually pyramids and not diamond shaped?
What's in Vegas?
What's under it?
Pyramid.
Yeah,
they already have a pyramid. They already have the Sphinx.
Yeah.
Everything you need for a new Egypt.
Is already
holy
there.
Shit. That just came to me. We need to be looking into that. Everything you need for a new Egypt is in Vegas.
Just like,
except the gods.
They ain't here yet.
They ain't here yet. I need to see when that damn thing's opening.
Think about this.
Because that's...
Do you know about how...
that's wild.
The parallels of how we've got all the towns in Egypt are in America already?
Yeah, they're like names.
Memphis.
Yeah, Memphis, yeah.
That's wild, right?
It is. And then, there's a lot of interesting things happening right now.
But what we were talking about earlier about the humans with the elongated skulls.
Yeah.
It's called Homo capensis.
Is that what Homo capensis is?
Homo capensis. They say like it could very well be a Nephilim bloodline.
Yeah.
If you look at like Jacob Rothschild, look at the shape of his skull. Is the same shape as the Peru skulls that they found.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
And if you look at all the depictions of like the royalty in Egypt, they always have that hat on their head that looks elongated.
Like like the Pope.
Yeah, because it literally like fits the shape of their skull.
The Pope has one because of Dagon, yeah, and
Dagon.
But it also mimics that. You know, it's
all parallel.
It's the top hats. That's what they were meant to mimic, because who had the highest top hat? The rich people in the Industrial Revolution in the 1800s.
All the rich people were more than likely of that specific bloodline.
Yeah, I mean,
and then they call them the blue bloods.
Yeah, that's interesting.
You start pulling them threads.
All right, so our next one is going to be a happier one and more well known. This is going to be like a, you know, and everyone knows this one. But the next one is the Bimini Road, and it was discovered in 1968 in the Bahamas, and it still is very confusing today. And Buster, I'm sure you know the Bimini Road, that out there in the Bahamas, they got those sectional like stones that looks like it's a road or a dock under the water. If you look it up, you know what I'm talking about.
Elaborate.
But in September of 1968, 3 archaeologists were diving off the northern coast of the island of Bimini. The men were 18 feet or so beneath the blue water, and they discovered reportedly that they had found rectangular pavement stones. The sequence of stones the men found extended more or less straight out to sea for half a mile. Many of the large pavement stones were mostly of similar shape and size, and this led the archaeologists to believe they had found an ancient road, or perhaps the remnants of the legendary Atlantis.
And how do you spell it?
Bimini. Bimini.
Bimini stones.
Yeah. And a battery of tests went on to show that the stones were around 3,500 years old, which, again, these notes from this show I wrote a while back, and it's very ironic that we are talking about, what have we said before, an event every 3,600 years. And those stones are 3,500 years old. So that's pretty that's pretty interesting.
Kind of interesting.
Yeah. But,
and that, you know, that's right there next to Port Royal.
Very interesting, too. See, all that old stuff.
Here's a map.
Oh, there you go.
Interesting.
It's a very interesting shaped whole island there. But the last time they were allegedly above the surface was about 2,000 years ago. And it's still an argument and a debate today on as to whether what they actually are, whether they're a man-made road or a natural occurrence. And there's evidence for both, and a lack of any definitive evidence for both. So nature can create beautiful and splendid things, of course, but rarely, never near perfect straight lines, which from above and to the naked eye, these stones seem to lay. Mostly their edges are in super linear and in a straight fashion. This is one of the more well-known unsolved mysteries, but anything to do with Atlantis is always super cool. And it's kind of ridiculous that it's still, well, I think we probably know, you know? It's one of those things that's like, it's a mystery, but I'm sure we actually know what the hell it is.
They're just keeping the mystery alive.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, think about it. It's like, I've always been fascinated by the Fountain of Youth.
Yeah.
Ponce de Leon.
Yeah. Well, it's like, I think we were talking about that one time. There was actually a show. Oh gosh, one of those shows. It was on Travel Channel, where some dude. No, it might have been Travel Channel or Destination America, where these 2 guys were going out looking for mysteries and unsolved things, and they had found what they thought is the Fountain of Youth, and it's a stream that they had found in that same region that is reported, and the magnesium and like colloidal silver content are so high that if you drank it or if you actually laid in it, it would
rejuvenate.
Yeah, it would technically heal you. I mean, it would be healing waters. So,
well, I mean, to touch furthermore, colloidal silver, really good.
Yeah.
There's a reason that it's associated with like killing werewolves and
vampires
and
things,
stuff like that, because it destroys negative ailments. Not to mention monoatomic gold, superconductive. You know, we take in iron and stuff like that. That's a conductive metal.
Yeah.
Monoatomic gold is super conductive. So if you ingest that, you're going to be that much more synaptic.
Yeah.
And that's what I had taken a pretty good amount of that over the course of the past couple of years, and I've definitely felt a dramatic difference.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure all that, those minerals and base metals and stuff, because I mean, that's what we're made out of. I mean, that's our genetic makeup.
Alchemy.
So, yeah, it's alchemy. It's all alchemy, baby. That's right.
There's our new T-shirt.
Yeah, that's our new T-shirt. Get them while you can.
Oh yeah, and just to hype up our merch a little bit, we got a new T-shirt out. It's purely academic.
It's purely academic. You can find that on our Facebook page. It is an actual T-shirt. You can buy it. It's pretty cool. We're working on some more stuff. We're always building stuff. This past week was tough, man. I had pneumonia or whatever I had and couldn't record, couldn't do nothing. Was pretty much 1 foot out the door to the ER most of the week.
You had a case of the shoe buddies?
Yeah, it was rough. I ain't never been like that. But
well, now that you're over it, you're better for it, right?
Better for it and continuing on upwards and onwards. So our last topic is a pretty crazy one, and I went ahead and did a story of this on the blog as well, but it's a while back. But this is something you've probably never heard, and I would say that one with certainty. This one is the fainting of 300 children incident. Okay, so what in the world would cause nearly 300 children and some adults to just collapse in one area?
Mm-hmm.
Pesticides. I mean, we would say that nowadays. Mass hysteria, sickness, what have you. But in July of 1980, in Nottinghamshire, England, a large group of children attending a music competition suddenly collapsed for a reason that is still unknown today. They just collapsed. A total of around 500 children were entered into the band's competition in that event. What?
Continue.
Okay. It's just information. The event was to raise charity for school bands. Began at 9 a.m. and by 10:30 a.m. children began to collapse all around the entire field. One of the organizers for the event is known to have stated, "We are preparing for the stage display when one or two kids just dropped to the floor. Then a few more, then a few more, and then more, and then spectators started collapsing. Headaches, stomach pains, leg pain, dizziness. No one knew what exactly was happening to these kids. I thought maybe food poisoning, but the kids were all different areas or different ages and schools. While I do not agree with food poisoning to a degree, if the kids all got there around the same time, I'm sure there was refreshment set up. But a main idea surfaced many years later that it could have been pesticides used in the area. Some of which, like tridomorph, became illegal in the late 90s. However, in the 80s would have been indeed used in that area. And since it was held outside in a field, it could be possible. This, even though it was put forth 20 years after the incident, is expected to be a leading cause. Mass hysteria is also thought to be a possible reason for fainting. As I've covered in multiple episodes before, and in the blog, the dancing plague.
Yeah, everybody just started dancing.
Yeah, dancing until they died.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's one of those incidents. People began dancing in the streets day and night. Others start to join, and some even dance until they just collapse dead. Now, this is thought to possibly happen because of wheat mold. Apparently, just making people crazy. Just a mold on some
funny
wheat.
Because LSD is a form of mold that forms on ergot, I believe.
I think it's a form of the same thing.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's a form of the same thing. But yeah, that possibly happened again because of the wheat mold, and that's kind of interesting that it's the same form as that. I think that's pretty interesting. While there are multiple possibilities, I would lean towards a very localized food poisoning or that pesticide. I think that's pretty interesting. But dang, in this incident, I think it could be viable. Random kids start getting sick and dropping. Their friends who are also nervous and tired, they start dropping. Some parents are overcome by the incident. Boom, they're down. The official cause has never been actually uncovered, but again, the pesticides could certainly be a thing. The mass hysteria, I don't ever really lean towards mass hysteria in these events, just because. I mean, I know people are skittish and stupid when they're in crowds. We've seen it in riots.
Oh, mob rules, man.
Yeah, mob rules, pack mentality.
Mm-hmm.
People don't know how to control their baser instincts when they're, being led.
It's very wild that we would bring this up, but there's an episode of South Park that depicts this very situation.
Is it
It's
the
brown
note?
sound.
Yeah, the brown note. Yeah, I remember
that. Is that not
one.
wild?
It is. It does. It does like the exact same thing.
The brown note.
Yeah.
They schedule it on purpose.
Yeah.
And whenever that note's played, everybody just craps their pants.
Yeah. Maybe it was that before. Maybe they got the stage set up. Somebody inadvertently just and everybody's done.
And everybody just loses it.
Yeah.
Their bowels just drop.
Yeah. So that is the Unsolved Mysteries, part 2. Of course, we'll do more in the future, and I honestly just happened to find those notes today, so we could do the episode on it. So that was awesome. But that's all we've got for this episode. We've made it a pretty good, about 40 minutes.
Allison, do you have anything to chime in?
Thoughts? Anything to share?
Concerns?
Not today, no.
Not today. That's fine.
Are you
I'm not gonna force you.
Bewildered by such?
Oh, absolutely. No, I love learning things like this.
Good.
Well, that's our main thing, is to be the light and to illuminate some things they're hidden away, and that kind of stuff. So
Dilute the sugar.
yeah. So while we're on the topic, because I mean it's 40 minutes, we're okay. We still got a few minutes. So something I've noticed recently is, well, not as recently, but this year, they are really wanting to cancel a certain TikTok, or a certain app, TikTok. And it's like they want to stop people that work for state situations to not have it. The certain states have banned it for their state employees because of Chinese tracking and all that stuff, which is absolute bananas.
Which seems a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah, it is.
Is that another finger?
Yeah.
To be pointed?
Yeah, it is, because when you look at it, like I was looking at all the stuff and the apps that are out there, and there's like a bajillion kids apps from China that you can download on your mom and dad's phone, and all of a sudden, hey, this little Panda Pop game is getting their emails. So my theory is that TikTok is the #1 source for actual news right now.
And that's why they don't want anybody to have
it. If you were in China with this, think about how they run it with the state-run media, and you're not allowed to look at this. You're not allowed to think this certain way. At least that's what we're told.
Yes.
Right? So they shut down all that stuff. They have control over the internet. They have control over this. So if you were in a country where, when Biden did his State of the Union the other day, they preemptively put up barricades and fencing. So if your country is that angry towards you, you wouldn't want the people that are working for you to be looking at truth and facts and things that tell you how crappy you really are.
Oh yeah, they have to keep the candy sweet.
Yeah, so that's what they're doing. They're blaming it on China, but what they're actually doing is denying their people. They don't want to start an uprising. They don't want to start people seeing the truth, because I don't even go to the news at this point. I'll pull up TikTok and see what some people are actually videoing, of the spheres that are in the sky or whatever the hell's up there.
That way you're not getting filtered information.
Yeah, because I don't care where you go on TV, it's programmed. It's called a program for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you gotta, and of course, any crackpot, with a phone could be on YouTube or it could be on TikTok or anything like that. We're just some people we're just some crackpots with a microphone. So, and you've decided to join us here today, if you're listening. So, take it with what you will, but it's pretty clear to a lot of people that some things aren't right, and we're not being told some things. And I think people are starting to notice, and people in power are starting to get scared. But I mean, they probably won't have to care very long because Thoth and the Egyptian gods will be back soon. So, and U2 is going to greet them, so that's nice. They'll sing them a song.
Yeah, it would be. It's kind of hilarious that Bono would be the one to do it.
Isn't it funny? Like,
and Bono was at the address, State of the Union address.
was he really?
Yes, he was.
Getting briefed. Briefed to meet the
Is that
new
not nuts? Like now that we mention it,
because he's thrown around in a lot of those circles about like worldly stuff,
and he was
like he's a freaking. I understand he's a philanthropist, but he is talked about in like really high regards with like worldly events, like what's Bono doing?
South Park,
Yeah.
He is the record.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of interesting stuff.
And it's even more bizarre that he's got that one name, just like Beyonce. You know where she is.
Well, yeah, I definitely know what she is. Well, it's like I'm glad you guys didn't see the halftime ritual. I'm glad
that we didn't get put through that.
Yeah, it was terrible. I mean, it was cool looking, but I mean, it was a bunch of gyrating and and ass and all this stuff on TV and sexual stuff. Of course.
Now, I will say I did view the national anthem, which was pretty hot.
The national anthem was dope.
Now, the way I said it was like, okay, Chris Stapleton shows up and he does his performance, and then everybody's like, whoa! And then I was like, all right, everybody, y'all can go home now.
Yeah.
And that was basically that was the true entertainment, and everything else is just extra.
That was the highlight, yeah, for sure. Because I mean, it's not been a halftime show for a long time. It's been a halftime ritual. You can anything that they have at the halftime ritual is relevant. I mean, because the way their dancers were dressed looked like they were in hazmat suits.
But it also looked like they were members of the KKK, and Rihanna was dressed up in red, right? And she was the Grand Dragon.
Wow.
Yeah, she was the head of it.
Together? I didn't think about that.
Yeah, see, that's wild. And it makes it even weirder. It's a KKK thing, and she's not white.
Well, yeah, hardly any of the dancers or her was.
So I mean, like, what is even going on anymore?
Yeah, the symbolism. Well, it's because like and obviously at the Grammys, I mean, how disgusting. Did y'all see any of the?
I did see that.
It was very
kind
unholy.
of forced down.
It was very unholy.
It was forced down my throat, but I did watch it.
I mean, I'm not surprised because those people are freaking horrible monsters, but. What I found interesting was Sam Smith, the artist, which I mean, he's probably one of those that was like Taylor Swift, like when they first came out, super popular, pretty cool, great voice. Well, now you're in.
And then just tainted.
Yeah, now you're gonna do what we tell you to.
Properly initiated.
Yes, he's been properly initiated.
It really broke my heart because I really liked one of his songs, and now it's like I lost all respect for you.
Yeah. Well, I had to tell one of my family members, like they're like, oh, I just love Sam Smith. I was like, have you seen? And have you heard? Because it's not the same one. It's not the same person.
He's not the only one.
Yeah, well, it's awful. But his performance, he posted on Twitter. He's like, this is gonna be a heck of a performance or whatever. And CBS News or like the channel replied to him on Twitter was like, yeah, we can't wait to see it. We're ready to worship. That was literally their response. I'm like.
And then an unholy worshiping.
Yeah,
and not to mention whoever that other cat was, and the thing was the first transgender something.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what?
Yeah, it's just even I think even and then I heard the other day that AOC Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez or whatever the hell her name was upset about the Jesus ads during the Super Bowl. Like I'm sure you are. Like
I think she's a representative, and like every time she opens her mouth, it's just like I feel like my brain is trying to escape my ears.
Because she's a phony. She's a show.
Oh, and it's like she's never once thought that the reason no one likes her is because she's unlikable, and she tries to blame it on being a woman and of color.
100%.
Again, pointing the finger at something that's easy to point at.
Yeah.
But what do I know?
Yeah.
I'm just a undesirable white man.
Yeah. So to finish this up, there is one thing that I don't think we can talk about yet, but if you're listening to this, you need to look into Ohio and train derailment. And you need to look into it because it's going to get bad, and it's going to be one of the worst things that's ever happened in this country. So, Ohio, train derailment, I don't want to say much more because they have arrested some people for putting out news about it. So do your own research. Get on TikTok. The truth is there. That's it. Other than that, that's it for today. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for listening. We didn't do it at the beginning, but I'll do it at the end. We love you. Take care of yourself. Take a minute for you and your family today. Hug them. Love them. Take a breath. Meditate for a minute and realize that things might not be great, but they can be much worse. And honestly, pray for all those people in Turkey and all the people that are. It's like 30-something thousand at this point is the death toll. I mean, there whatever earthquake weapon, whatever it was, don't matter. That's awful. Just hope they can get through.
Just breathe deep.
Yeah, breathe.
And keep on trucking.
Yep. But Allison, thank you for sitting in and joining us today
Thank
as
you.
well.
Thanks for having me.
All right, that's it, everybody. We'll catch you on the next one.
Later, y'all.